Ms. Marshall is looking for. There she is. This is a thank you note for the cookies we get from Charlotte. Thank you. Is Karen coming?
Oh, there she is. Thank God.
It's exciting to see people from all over. Are you recording? I am recording.
It's for you. I've been trying to call. Yes. So if you leave a message,
And underneath is Hazel.
so, but you're okay.
She said she's let her hair grow longer. It did. Keeps it so short, all this she does. So we asked her if she could bring it.
Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, I see you on you guys, but I can't hear anything.
Okay, you have.
I looked down at the mic audio thing, you know, and that's working good.
All right, so you have your microphone, did you set up that was allowed to have the audio go? Your
Yeah.
phone speaker, everybody can hear you, Jackie.
Oh. Well, I can't hear you on the TV.
Okay, but did you allow your microphone to work?
Well, it's on, yes.
Okay, doesn't have a,
The audio, you mean the audio?
a microphone?
The audio.
Yeah.
Speakers, not microphones. It's speakers that she needs to hear, not microphones.
Well, I can hear you.
Oh, I talked to Julie.
We can hear you.
So you have,
Well, up by my name, it says mute, but there's nothing to unmute. Wait a minute.
right, that's that microphone down at the bottom.
I
Should
think
I
those
say
are sisters
stop?
in Canada.
No.
At the nursing home there.
Hey, Rose. Whoa. Hey, Rose. We have two Roses. Hi, Rose.
Got Linda Coleman from Michigan.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Yeah, they are. Imelda called me at 1 o'clock. Amy's not here. Why isn't she here?
Okay, I'm gonna hang up that.
Till 2 o'clock.
I don't see a picture, but that's okay.
Okay. You have to allow the video, you know, make sure that's not, doesn't have that line through it.
Yeah.
Can they see all of us?
It's way down there again.
Well, that's okay. There's somebody over here we know.
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth, where are
What
you?
for did he have?
It's a prescription.
Ah, and how about you?
It's a prescription.
Oh, it is.
Doris Durant.
Hi, Elizabeth. Hi,
Say surprise, surprise. Yeah, it's sitting on top of the, fire extinguisher.
I would love to be there.
Why, is it gonna blow up or something?
Hey,
The far right.
Yes. Julie has a red cup for,
Yeah. Don't you look pretty in your red jacket? Are you gonna bring all space?
well, they can get smaller, and they also do the page for page.
Keep wanting to be people bigger. Really, that.
You want me to walk up there and read?
Hi, Joan. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Joan,
Hi,
hi.
Joan. Hello, Cora. Good to see you.
Joan is Joan James is, an associate from Jamaica.
Who's the one underneath Elizabeth? Underneath Rose.
Under Rose Kelly.
Is that the one that lives with
Elizabeth, yes.
On the second line, that's Helen. Helen from Canada, Helsinki, Quebec. As they enter more people, then it shifts around.
Yes, yes.
at the very bottom to the left.
Rose Road.
Debbie Immunic from.
Oh, yes.
And it's called. Well, it's from Pioneer, a Pioneer Woman. Yeah, Pioneer Woman is
Where should we stand? That's at the mother, that's at the service area. Not just.
And there's Amy, okay, those are our sisters, okay. Upper right.
up on the top. It's like the hall. That's Newport House. Amy's with the people at Newport House.
There's a hallway there, I'm not sure. Although she said it was a room, and I don't remember what room it is.
Hi, Amy.
Zelma.
Yeah, there's, one of these in the hallway is going the other direction, so I'm not exactly sure. She said that she was gonna do this.
And the others can't come because of the sickness.
Hi, Jill.
Joy and Mary's, hallway has got. But I don't know. If there's anybody else. I don't know if they have some.
Oh, you can go in there. Tell me where I'm at.
Rita.
There we go. But you can go in there, I've been in there 3 days this week.
How are you doing? Happy birthday. Yeah. So that from school.
Sitting there with her. So I said, ask her. how is
Yeah,
she
that's
doing?
all
She
from
said,
school.
well, she was moving, walking around a little
All
bit.
for being,
And so I got her home, and we went back to
Okay.
bed.
Yes,
Yesterday, she was confused. I'm sure she wasn't in her room. And put her there.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Hello, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Mary.
welcome.
It's lovely.
Thank you. Well-known survey. Should we go over here? So, let's go first.
I don't think you weigh 200 pounds. Fill in, okay? Fill in the table.
All I changed was so that's your strategy one. Okay.
Michelle and Lisa. Michelle speaks English. Lisa. Yes. She's the one that used to come to Detroit and Messina all the time. Yeah. Getting mistranslated because she was having.
But you live well.
Well, sometimes. Mary and Michelle live ice cream for lunch.
That's the group that over on the top row. That was
I guess it's good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello? I have to
look behind me to see you all on the screen, so that's kind of funky. So we're doing things slightly different with technology in this room than we have before, so we're hoping that this will work out better than the last time we made an effort to add a Zoom. In the middle of the room, not Peter, we also have Peter with us in the middle of the room, but this thing here that you probably may not see on screen, this is actually a camera and a microphone. And this is being loaned to us from Marion, and it is supposed to pick up a minimum of a 10-foot radius. So at different times you may see a picture of you here at the mother house up on the screen. And what it does is it detects sound, and then the camera pivots to where the sound is. So if you're speaking out of turn, everybody's gonna know. Anyway, the good news is that I think the people who are on the Zoom can hear us relatively well with this, as long as we're standing close enough to it. And the microphone is really for our use here in the room in the Servite Center. So welcome. Originally, when the council got together and we talked about wanting to celebrate the Feast of the Seven Founders, we said, oh, well, look, that's on Fat Tuesday. And then we thought, well, it's harder to get together at night in Omaha in regards to everybody kind of has their own kind of set dinner plans wherever they live. So we said, okay, well, let's do it on the weekend. Well, we have Mass on Sunday, so let's do it on Saturday. And then it's like, oh, that's Valentine's Day. So welcome to the trifecta. So happy Valentine's Day, happy Fat Tuesday, and happy Feast of the Seven Founders. So you might want to plug your ears if you're not in Omaha, because we have to do a little shout out. In Omaha, there's actually a plate of candy in the middle of every table, and that candy was sent from Detroit by our associates in Michigan. So a shout out to them. And we just want to remember Sister Peter in a special way, that she's gracing the Seven Founders for this first feast day with them, and all of those sisters that have gone before us and associates as well. So shall we begin?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy feast day of St. Valentine and of our seven founders. It is wonderful for us to gather. It's good to see everybody's faces and all of you on Zoom too. So this is extra special. So thank you all for making the effort to be here today. So everybody should have a copy of the prayer in front of you. It's on your tables. So I'd like to just very briefly just kind of walk through it a little bit. So all of the readings and everything, as you see, have been designated. I'll do the opening prayer, and then as you see, Carolyn is going to do a reading, and then Sister Marie-Lise is going to do her part in French, and you have the translation there in English. Then we're going to reflect a bit on our Constitution articles. So Rose is going to do the first one from Jamaica, and then we're going down. So then Michelle Leach from Sherbrooke is going to do the Constitution article in English. Mary Geringer will do hers in the U.S., and then we do the second column. So someone from Newport House, Jamaica, and Canada will do the rest of those. And if you can just take a little short pause in between so we don't rush too much. We want it to be kind of reflective and prayerful, so we don't need to hurry. Then Hazelyn has a reading that she will do. And then we're going to have a wonderful reflection on our history. So when we were preparing this, we were trying to think of how we could learn maybe a little bit more about each other in all the places where we are as part of our U.S., Jamaica, Canada community. So Rose is going to speak a little bit about the Jamaica, how the sisters got to Jamaica, and so on. We'll learn more about that. Elizabeth is going to talk a little bit about Canada, how the sisters got there, and what they've done, and so on. And then Charlotte and Marcia are going to do a little presentation about the U.S., and then Barb Cates is going to do something on the associates. So give us a little chance to kind of get to know a little bit more about how we came to be who we are. And then we'll do the closing prayer, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to it, okay? So if possible, all of you on Zoom, unless you have a speaking part, if you could just make sure that you are muted, it would help a lot, because every sound you make is going to come across to us. And we have to do the same thing here. We have to be sure that we're not being too noisy. So that would be very helpful. So before we begin, let's just pause for a moment of quiet gratitude for our 7 founders who came together in the 1200s to form community, and grateful for who we are today as servants of Mary here in the U.S., Jamaica, Canada community. So we just pause for a moment of gratitude. And we begin. From its beginnings, our congregation has been dedicated to Our Lady. Contemplating Mary and following her example, we deepen our understanding of Servite mission, our cooperation in the redemptive work of Christ. It is in Mary's name and under her guidance that we wish to serve.
For the 7 holy founders, the ideal of community was very important. They expressed their love for God by loving and mutually supporting each other. The 7 founders' desire to live and witness the gospel values of the kingdom first found expression within the small community. From there, these values fueled their desire to serve others, especially the sick and the poor. It was within the warm confines of their community that the 7 holy founders witnessed and experienced the love of God. For them, community was not just a place to live. It was the experience of God present in the lives of the brothers gathered together. This experience profoundly challenged them to extend community to others. From the beginning, Mary was their model of service and compassion.
Lors de l'Annonciation, on voit Marie accueillir la parole de Dieu avec foi et la ferme résolution d'accomplir la volonté du Seigneur. Marie demeure l'exemple parfait de la confiance en l'action de Dieu dans nos vies. Marie, au pied de la croix, est un exemple de
And we'll reflect now on our Constitution articles.
Article number 1 of our Constitution. Our spirit is rooted in the Servite charism, an evangelical life witnessed in community, serving God and His plan of salvation, in the attitude of Mary, the humble servant of the Lord. This ideal was lived by our first sisters at Kew. It was clearly expressed by their desire to be Servites and confirmed by aggregation to the order.
And Sister Michelle?
We share the same grace and mission when we respond to God's call to follow Christ, poor, chaste, obedient, in the congregation of the Servants of Mary, an apostolic religious institute of pontifical right.
Like the 7 holy founders and our first community, we strive to be converted each day to the gospel in humility, compassion, and joy.
Sister Barbara.
The example of our 7 holy founders and of our first
sisters of the fathers and of our sisters keeps alive in us the desire to live in joyful simplicity, waiting in humble expectancy on the Lord.
Over that one, I lost it.
Constitution number 8. The Virgin of the Annunciation listened to the word, abandoned herself in faith and obedience to the Father's will. She inspires us by her docility to the Spirit and her availability as servant and mother.
So that we may be truly one, we place at the service of one another what we have and are. We accept our differences as contributing to our unity, enriching the community.
A reading. Saints live values that come straight from the heart of Christ. Saints are those who have a kingdom on their minds that won't let them rest until all the world is striving to be just, compassionate, and single-hearted. They call us forth from the ruts of daily living and urge us to be Christ to the world. They tell us that the reign of God is already in our minds, in our midst, if we can bless the world with beatitude living. And it's adopted from the seasons of your heart.
So now we'll begin the reflections on our history, and we'll start first with Rose Chang from Jamaica.
5 Servite sisters from the English province arrived in Jamaica in 1952 at the invitation of the bishop after the parish priest in Brownstown, St. Anne, had relentlessly pursued his vision of establishing a school run by the Servite sisters from England. He acquired property with a building which was formerly a small hotel called Huntley Park Hotel, which became home to the Servite Convent of the Assumption boarding and day school. Because of the groundwork done by this parish priest, the school was opened in January of 1953, a mere 3 months after the sisters arrived. Within a short period of years, Servite Convent of the Assumption grew from its small beginning of about 30 students to one of the best prep and high schools in Jamaica.
Please remember to mute if you are not speaking. So please mute your microphone. Sorry, Rose.
10 years after this foundation, the same parish priest was assigned to the St. Peter and Paul Church in the city of Kingston. He was so encouraged by the progress of the school he established in Brownstown that he straightaway set about building a prep school in his new parish. And yes, so the Servite presence expanded from its rural foundation to the busy city. Although education in schools was the main ministry in Jamaica, the sisters there was one nurse in the community of 5 sisters. She began the ministry of a mobile health clinic which provided much needed health care to the people of the rural areas of St. Anne. It was not long before the nursing sisters were being a compassionate presence in the hospitals and clinics, both in the rural areas and in Kingston. Over the past 73 years, the Servite sisters have lived the charism through their service in education, healthcare, pastoral ministry in church communities, social outreach by joining in a variety of programs and activities aimed at improving the lives of Jamaicans, spiritual development through spiritual direction and retreat work, human development through counseling, family life ministry, and conflict resolution. By the end of the 1970s, the number of Servites in Jamaica had risen from 5 to 24. The majority of these sisters came from different countries, namely France, England, USA, and Canada. 6 Jamaicans joined the congregation, but 3 left the community. Today, when there are 2 Servites left in Jamaica, that's Sister Hazelnut and myself. Yes, the diminishment in numbers and the inevitable aging of members has affected the Servite community here. We are no longer present in education and health ministry anymore. And our involvement in pastoral ministry is also limited compared to what it has been in the past. Yet there is a positive way to look at this. Our call to religious life came from God. This call was to serve the mission of the church, to spread the kingdom of God in the world. I believe that the Servites have done this
to the best of their ability with God's grace over the past 73 years. At this juncture, with no immediate sign of new vocations to our congregation, we could take this as a sign that we have fulfilled our mission as we have understood it, and that God is about to write a new chapter in the story of the Servites in Jamaica. We invoke his blessings as the Servite community moves into the next chapter of our history here, which we envision to include lay persons. 6 laymen have already answered God's call to live their Christian vocation as lay Servites. In the true spirit of servants of Mary, we listen and we wait now for the Holy Spirit to begin the next chapter. Let it be done according to your word. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Rose. Thank you so much. So now Elizabeth is going to talk to us about Canada.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
She said something about muting the sound of what? The group. She said something, just adjusting the volume.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready to leave. Oh, you are?
I got the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah. And I'm looking at a few of these.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, remember to mute your microphone because we can hear you if you are not the speaker.
Okay. On July the 26th, 1953, on the Feast of St. Anne, 5 sisters from the French-Belgian province arrived by boat in Montreal. Sister Mary Veronique, who was the provincial prioress, Sister Mary Annunciata, who would be the local prioress, Sister Mary Elizabeth, Sister Marie de l'Assomption, the Assumption, and Janine Moreau, who was a postulant. Several Servite friars were waiting for them to welcome them to Canada and to the province of Quebec. The friars accompanied the sisters to their new destination. Situated about 3 hours south of Montreal, the sisters arrived in the very small village of Islandbrook.
well, I'm finished. I'm ready to go out.
The villagers welcomed them and had prepared their new home. I can imagine the surprise of our sisters waking up to see deer or raccoons or moose on their front lawn because they were really in the country. They arrived in July and the sisters began teaching in the elementary school at the end of August. One anecdote that Sister Janine told us or shared with us is that the children, not used to the French accent, thought the sisters were speaking English and couldn't understand them. In the following years, the sisters purchased a house on Lake Massawippi and then eventually moved to Sherbrooke. There, the school board hired the sisters to teach in Our Lady of Sorrows School, an elementary school, and provided the sisters with a house that belonged to the school board. The sisters eventually purchased land and built a convent that was completed in 1962. Initial formation started in 1955, and our Sister Mary Françoise Gagnon, who is still here in Quebec, was one of the first Canadian sisters to enter and to remain. Françoise shared with me that in 1954, she read a leaflet informing them that a new community, the Servants of Mary, were established in the eastern townships, and whose goal was to eventually do missionary work in South America. The sisters attracted young women from Quebec and then from Western Canada, from Winnipeg, Manitoba. When I entered in 1965, we were about 30 sisters in Sherbrooke. But gradually, the numbers diminished. Sisters left the congregation, and the French sisters returned to France. We are now 7 sisters in Canada, 3 in Sherbrooke and 4 in Quebec. In the beginning of our foundation, the sisters were teachers, but ministry soon expanded into nursing, working with the physically and mentally challenged children, and doing pastoral work. In Canada, we never built our own schools or hospitals. We have always worked in public or private institutions that did not belong to us. Our foundations in Canada. In 1972, 4 sisters left Sherbrooke for Hamilton, Ontario. In 1979, 3 sisters opened a community in Quebec City. In 1994, Sister Mary Michel and Mary Laurence left Hamilton and moved to Ottawa. In 2018, the house in Ottawa was closed, and Sister Mary Michel moved to Sherbrooke. Our missionary experiences. 1967 to 1970, Guatemala. In 1967, the sisters joined a priest and a group of lay people working in Guatemala. These sisters worked there for 3 years doing pastoral work and teaching. In 1970, 2 sisters returned to Canada, and the 3rd one left the congregation. The missionary experience in Peru was from 1972 to 1977. Encouraged by the Presentation Sisters and already established in Peru, the sisters left Quebec for Lima. A young Canadian priest suggested that the sisters come and assist him in his pastoral ministry in Mache, in the Diocese of Trujillo, over 400 kilometers north of Lima. The sisters accepted his offer and stayed in this parish for a few years, and then they moved to another parish in Mansiche, another village, and eventually left Peru on May the 22nd, 1977, returning to Quebec. In both Guatemala and Peru, the sisters worked closely with the poor. They were loved by the population, but in all transparency, they had trouble with the local parish priests. And these difficulties eventually led to the sisters leaving the countries and returning to Canada. And that is our brief history.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We learned a lot. We appreciate that. Now we're going going to hear from the U.S., Charlotte and Marcia.
This feels and looks familiar, but it's been a while. Nice to come home. Marcia and I collaborated in our preparation to present the pattern of the foundation and growth of the American community. In doing so, common factors emerged as reasons for the history of our beginning and evolution to the present day. Our story begins with the missioning letter of Mother Philomena sending 5 sisters to St. Matthew's Parish in Mount Vernon, Indiana. As in subsequent foundations, the invitation to missionary activity was issued by bishops requesting women religious to serve as teachers in their parish schools. Our initial work then was devoted to the education of youth. Prayerful consideration characterized each response to the need for the foundation of new communities. In time, the desire among young women for membership necessitated the Servants of Mary establishing a novitiate and junior college. Its purpose was to form young women in the spirituality of the congregation and prepare them for their work as educators. Invitation and response, prayerful consideration, establishing new houses in new locations, saying yes to new invitations, necessitated and occasioned the spread of the fledgling American Foundation to other states and parishes. Each phase of growth was met with determination and the willingness to let go and move on to meet new needs. Our openness to serve the entire congregation saw members move beyond U.S. borders. Another trend emerged as the gifts and talents of Servites were matched with other ways of spreading the gospel. Sisters sought new positions of evangelization, new forms of community living, and new structures of governance. We shared our call to prayer and service with the laity and associate membership. Each situation was characterized by prayer and discernment between members and leaders. We are now in the phase of maturity that all organizations experience. Many of our houses have closed. We have left ministries and cities, schools, hospitals, and diocesan offices. We continue to respond to our call to evangelize as we accept the reality of aging. It is characterized by our ongoing discernment and openness to new possibilities for compassionate service in prayer and ministry, in sponsoring Marian High School, in promoting prayer to St. Peregrine, closing the Mother House, and entering into group living situations with the laity. We have been missioned, called, and sent into creative ways of being Servite with the courage of our first sisters who came to America as missionaries. Their spirit of willingness to explore, to create, and to leave the known for what was new and promising lives on in each of us.
I know the mouse is in here.
Okay, actually, Mount Vernon was our second attempt. The first attempt, 1870, fell apart in 1875. Now, the year before the sisters went to Mount Vernon, 2 sisters went back. They ended up back in Menasha, Green Bay area to do some prospection, is the word we heard, and to do some other business. And it was a German-speaking community, and they heard through the grapevine that this Father Luberman in Mount Vernon was looking for sisters. So they went down in the summer after school was out and looked at it and said, oh no, it's a shack, broken windows, it's dirty, nothing set up. So they went off to the Chicago World's Fair, and meantime, 2 other sisters, Mother Mary of the Incarnation and another sister came because they had heard about it. And they also said, oh no, this is a terrible place, forget about it. But of course, the letter got there too late, and there were already 5 sisters coming. Within 20 years, we were in 3 states, 3 states. They closed Wisconsin, and we had 9 houses and 40 American sisters. I can't do this thing. For the next 60 years, we expanded across the country, but still in schools. High schools, grade schools, opening and closing as needs arose. We also built 3 mother houses. We moved from rural and wooden to urban and brick. Okay. It was in 1972 that we no longer had our little white envelopes, and we got to choose where we wanted to go. So originally just back to the same schools, but we could choose. But then pretty soon it was not only where do we want to serve, but what do we want to do? And it just expanded as need arose. Altogether, there were 464 women who entered the community, of which 268 stayed. These are mostly in 20-year spans, so the largest number at any given time was 1956 to 1973, because some of the original sisters were still alive, and also in the 50s and 60s we were getting large groups entering. We also started having large groups leaving. There were at least 56 that left sometime in the novitiate, did not take vows. Now, I have to clarify, these numbers are not entirely, they haven't been cross-referenced, so they're ballpark. And to end at the beginning, Sister Xavier Joando was the superior in the first attempt. She was the vicaress who came in 1892. She served a total of, I think, 15 years in America. She's buried in Mount Vernon. A couple of years ago, the Congolese sisters sent a stone that they wanted to put on her grave. The stone was incorporated into a marble slab and attached to the back of her headstone. I find it interesting that in our first 20 years, we had 40-some sisters. And the Congolese sisters in 20-some years have 40-some sisters. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
We can clap for Margaret.
Thank you very much, Charlotte and Marcia, for all of your gathering of information. It's always good to hear some of those things, and we always learn something new that we didn't know. So thanks for your research. It's wonderful. So now we're going to hear from our associates, Barb Cates.
Thank you, and on behalf of all the associates, we are happy to be celebrating with you today. In the 1980s, the sisters invited a group of lay men and women who were friends of the community to discuss the beginning of what would become the associate program. An advisory board was formed, and together the sisters, along with the lay people on the board, developed the associate program and a formation process for those interested. In 1989, the first associates made their covenant to the community. The program continued to grow, and we've had associates from 12 different states: Oregon, Iowa, Nebraska, New York, Michigan, Kansas, Colorado, North Carolina, California, Florida, and Texas. In 2016, Jamaica linked to the U.S., and shortly after, their associates made their covenants. We currently have 70 associates, and we have 3 women in formation process. 2 of the candidates are from Jamaica, and 1 is in Iowa. The discernment process includes discussions with teams of associates and sisters and covers 8 booklets of information relevant to the community. The ministries of the associates today include visiting the sick and elderly, assisting in liturgical services, crocheting afghans for women's shelter and quilts for babies in the intensive care unit, feeding the poor and advocating for the homeless and the immigrants. And of course, our prayer ministry, spreading the compassion and presence of Mary. The associate team consists of Cindy Campbell, Joyce Gary, and myself. Our goal is to form community with all the associates so we may continue sharing the charism of the servants of Mary through our ministries. Some of our activities include regular prayer services through Zoom informational meetings, monthly associate reflections, special offerings for Advent and Lent, prayer partners, and relaying of prayer requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Appreciate everybody's input on sharing some of our history. It really helps us to see what a wide range we have been for many, many years. And I love the connections of the Congo and the U.S., that it wasn't coincidental. I think we can say that a lot about how God has, and the Spirit have worked through us. So the closing prayer, many of you remember it, called it the Pietate. When Mary and Lisa and I were looking at it, we decided it needed a little revision. Some of the language didn't quite fit, and some of the history, the ministry, etc., didn't quite fit. So we revised it and tried to make it more up to date. So what we're going to invite everybody to do, I think you are all pretty much muted now, but we're just going to ask each group to be muted and to pray this with those that you are gathering with. And if you're by yourself, you can pray it aloud too. So it just feels important for us as a unity to pray this together. And then we'll kind of come back and just do some closing remarks. So we'll mute, and then begin when you're ready in your areas. loving God.
Together with Mary our Mother, the 7 Holy Founders, Saint Philip, Saint Juliana, Marie Gil, and all the saints, we pray for our Holy Hill and our bishops, those chosen for leadership in our congregation, and all the members of our Servite community. In a world in need of justice and peace, help us to live out our charism of compassionate presence to all those we encounter. Let our lives be an example of living the gospel in the spirit of Mary, encouraging others to join us in doing so. Remember our relatives and friends, the sick and dying, our benefactors and their families, all those with whom we share our lives. Protect them from harm, fill them with your hope, and strengthen them in faith and in charity. Grant all leaders the spirit and wisdom of collaboration and mutuality. Give them the courage of conviction, and may they remember they serve for the good of the whole. Bless all creation. Help us bring hope and healing to our world by sharing our abundance with all those in need. Finally, we remember those who have gone before us, blessed by your grace. Receive them into your keeping. Amen.
So thank you all for gathering on Zoom and all the various places that we are as servants of Mary and here at the Mother House. It's been wonderful for us just to gather and be together. So thank you for the efforts as we celebrate our 7 founders. I wonder who can name all of those 7 founders. I remember when I was living with Doris, and Doris had them all memorized, and she gave me an easy way to remember. So I kind of remember them, but I always have to look it up and double check. So anyway, we're going to say adieu to everybody, and then have blessings on the rest of your Valentine's Day, and blessings as we celebrate the Feast of the Founders on Tuesday, and as we enter into the Lenten season. We just wish everybody wonderful blessings. Any last words of wisdom? Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. Everybody wave.
Thank you very much. Nice to see everyone. So cute.
Thank you.
The associates are a little more used to Zoom than we are because they do it once a month or every 6 weeks. So then they always wrap up by saying goodbye to everybody. So we'll give them a little time before we take them off the screen. However, I muted ourselves so I could say we have refreshments. Please help yourself. And maybe after everybody gets a little bite, we'll just kind of give a little update also about the looming March 1st date that everybody keeps thinking about.